Dreams. How to make something of them that can be of use to us. Okay, where to start? We are told in scripture that the sons of men will get visions in their dreams from the Creator, just like Enoch, until the day of judgment. Who's given you those visions and dreams is a point worth discovering. So as I learned how to understand my dreams, I learned that there were certain qualities to dreams. I had my premonition dreams. I had the caught in the in-betweens, where normally people experience sleep paralysis. That space, that some people call it a heaven, like the second heaven or the first heaven. I called it near earth consciousness. It's like when I'd fall asleep, I would try to shoot my consciousness out past the density of earth consciousness. So premonition, demonic entrapment. There are other spirits, they're just doing their jobs. That's where your fairies, your sprites, all of those fairy tale characters, the vampires and stuff, that's where you're going to interact with them. And then there were the false angels, and they were basically very, very bright with no background, like a white background. You just focus was on them, disembodied faces. And then the divine usually doesn't have form. The inner union, the state of my inner union, so what was going on with my subconscious and stuff like that. So how to tell the difference? I started with a book. You could Google it, dream symbolism. It's like symbiology. The symbolism or spiritual significance of certain things. So like when I lost all my hair in real life, I turned to the dream symbolism just so that I had some context, like, why did this happen to me? And it turns out it means, and it mentions women, it doesn't mention men. The book said that a woman who loses her hair, suddenly goes bald, is one who has reached a new understanding. And that was applicable to my circumstances and where I was in my development. That was around the time that I got the scroll to one eye, and then it was formless. I don't know what it was doing to my other eye, but I could perceive a whole lot more. And in our dreams, when we have a figure in our dreams, when we're acting something out with a male or a female, regardless of age, that represents masculine and feminine. So you may think you're dreaming about your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, brother, sister. No. That is just the face being presented to create the emotional impact that is trying to be conveyed. So your dreams, initially, you want to focus on how you feel. What the struggle is between masculine, the intellect, and beliefs, and the feminine, the knowing, the intuition, the hunches, which may or may not be just beliefs. Like, everybody's always going to leave me. That becomes a belief that you have a strong inner reaction to when you start to get close to somebody. That belief takes over. They're going to leave me anyways. I got to push them away. And that may be in your subconscious, and you're not even conscious that that is your thought pattern. That is what's governing your choices. What comes out of your mouth. Whether you're late, whether or not you remember something important, something that they like, something that they appreciate, something that they're expecting. Your subconscious can be causing that blank because you're afraid everybody's always going to leave you. So when you wake up from a dream state and it's a grandmotherly figure, it is your emotional body, your intuitive body being very nurturing towards you. And if you had a bad experience with a grandmother, well then that's your subconscious telling you, this is how I feel about your presenting personality, your false ego. When they start to get along, you wake up feeling randy, rowdy, frisky. You get the message. Whatever word you use. That's always fun. But as they integrate, you'll start to get dreams and visions of like two halves of the brain, two lungs, two colors becoming one flame. These are all symbolism that your emotional body, which receives intuition and Holy Spirit, is coming into alignment and agreement with your intellect and the beliefs that you formed based on experience. I always forewarn people, sometimes our subconscious can be, that emotional preteen, like drama queen kind of thing. And you'll get this symbolism. There's a crack in the earth. It's all, mountains separating and the earth's rumbling. It means your fly's down. Your barn door's open. You haven't remembered to zip up your pants. There's an opening there. And you're feeling, your body, your subconscious knows that you're going to feel threatened, very bad about yourself, destroy your own self-image. Pull your zipper up. That's all it means. I've had dreams where the whole house is burning down and there are only certain people that can come with me and the rest are in the house that's burning down. One was, there was this guy, older man, and he was rummaging, going through all the rubble, and he was picking up the small children, running them over to this big tree with these thorns on it, sticking them on the thorns, piercing them on the tree, getting all these kids because the place is gone. What comes next is just utter, complete. There's no place for these children to hide. That is my subconscious and my creator as the older man letting me know that certain thought patterns are not going to come with me. They're being destroyed. I'm becoming new. I'm going to have new responses, and look for those new responses. If you're having an interaction, ooh, I never would have answered that question like that before. This has changed about me. When we recognize, we become aware of the change. It registers, and that connection is made between the subconscious, the conscious, the feminine, the masculine, and it starts to work as one system. Oh, I'm not that person anymore. You know, I'm not that person who thought this way about themselves. I'm not that person who thought that way about other people. I can allow that God accepts me for who I am now. So those are things to be observant of that can help you understand where you are. And the importance of self-love, self-appreciation, allowing, okay, I did this. It was self-destructive. It undermined me constantly. But compassionate understanding, that's what's so important, is that takes me back to that time that I was feeling helpless, and the only empowered example, the only person in control was the one that kept everybody on their toes, walking on eggshells, making them uncomfortable. And so that's why I nitpick all the time. My grandmother used to do that to my grandfather. And pecking. Constantly griping. Of course, the adults in my life just provided an example of who I didn't want to be. And so I was very silent, non-critical, or anything like that. Unfortunately, it was to the extreme, so I didn't have healthy boundaries either, which is a bad thing. I'm allowed to say no. You're allowed to say no. But it is, this is the kind of work, the spiritual work, the work with spirit. If you pray to our Creator, search me out. Find that in me which is not in alignment with your love for me, your perspective. Help me find it, understand it, and if need be, change it. That prayer will work. And it's a gentle process. And with each bag of weight that you throw over, that's holding you down and keeping you away from the Creator, there's an elevation. It's like a spiritual high. You get addicted to the process, and the momentum increases. The law of attraction, momentum. It's real until God just, your momentum's done. Or it's slowed down on purpose. I had somebody tell me, oh, you got slowed down, you're gonna burn up, man. Spontaneous combustion. I'm going so fast through the self-awareness and all excited, you know. And speaking of the time that I tried to kill myself, that I spoke of in a recent video, it was not a depression. It was not any, oh, I'm this, I'm that. No, it was, all right, I have done absolutely everything. Law of attraction, law of this, law of that. I have searched all these spirits out. I have done all the work, except draw close to my Creator, because I hadn't done that part yet. Drawn back into closeness. And I go out, it's New Year's Eve. I hadn't left my camp, my home, in, I don't know, weeks probably. I didn't want to socialize with them. They were all drug addicts. What do you want? But I was on good terms with some of them. I didn't know, you know, the depth of what that community was like or into, because people would only show me the best version of themselves. I didn't get intimately involved in their lives in every moment in detail what they're doing. I had overcome PTSD by then. I didn't have hyper awareness. So I was on good terms with people in every faction in the community, even the ones that were at enmity between one another. So I went out, it was New Year's Eve, I'm like, oh, what the heck, you know, you go up, they have a stage and they play music and stuff like that, sell sodas, burgers, and I went up and, oh, there's the guy who ghosted me, sitting next to the guy who came to me and said, oh, remember when those people that you hung out with got dosed and ended up naked at the hot springs not knowing what happened to them. Well, that's because this guy wanted me to dose you so that he could rape you. But it failed. For some reason, the people around you, because I didn't smoke weed, they had laced the weed. And the people around me, they'd come over, they'd be like, oh, hey, let's share this smoke. And so the people around me would smoke it, but I wouldn't. And then they'd get trashed and all of that. So the guy who ghosted me, the guy who tried to dose me so another guy could rape me, I'm like, ugh, fine. You know, somebody, and I didn't want to be there. Like, there were other things going on, and the people there just weren't people that I wanted to hang out with. But one of them said, oh, we're having a block party down by my camp. Go on down there. I'm like, oh, block party, okay. A crowd of people, there's got to be, you know, at least one person I could sit and socialize with. So I go around, go to the first camp. There's music, people dancing around the back. The dude who raped me is lascivious dancing with the girl who assaulted me. And we were on bad terms. I made peace with her. I'm good at that. Forgiveness, sisterhood, and all that. But I knew better than to trust her. I mean, she could turn on you like that. She's like a dog with a bone. She does not lay off. She's the type that will come by, slap you on the head every 5 minutes, and dare you to get mad at her. She didn't have to do that to me, but that's just the nature of her personality. I've seen it in action plenty of times. So I go from dude who ghosted me, dude who tried to dose me so someone else could rape me, a dude who actually did rape me, a woman who tried to kick my butt. And I'm like, I'm out of here. So I go down to the next hot spot. And this woman's there, and she just drunk as can be. And we normally get along on good terms. She had a lot of the same parenting perspectives as I did. And she also, you know, was rewilding whole life, unschooling her children and stuff like that. And she's all slouched. She's like, why'd you betray so-and-so, the guy who raped me? Because she didn't believe that he would do such a thing. It turned out that woman that he was lasciviously dancing with, they weren't doing it towards each other. That's just what they do. That's how they dance. So she went to go home. She found her window smashed in, her door broken open, and that dude had glass slashed on his arm. So he was the one who did it. But he didn't remember doing it, just like he didn't remember doing what he did to me. But finally she believed me, and the community's like, oh, this dude does do that stuff. So, but this one woman, she was good friends with him. She didn't believe it. So I go from man who ghosted me, man who tried to dose me, man who raped me, woman who you can't trust. And I know, you know, no. And then the friend of the guy who raped me trying to, you know, get at me. And I'm like, screw this. I'm going home. Committed to myself tomorrow morning. I'm getting all these over-the-counter meds. I'm getting myself a big old jug of rum because I had heard somebody just about died, because if somebody hadn't called emergency, they would have died, because that was the combination that they took. As a sovereign being, I said, I am ending it right here. If I have done all this work and this is all that's left for me, I am done. And so I went at it the next night. All of it. I consumed every last drop, every last pill. Didn't eat anything. And I woke up in the morning perfectly fine. And pissed off. Two guys who I don't spend a lot of time with because they do the meth and stuff, but they've always been nice to me. I've always been, you know, nice to them. They come over from next door where they cook, you know, big breakfast, and they're acting all hesitant. They're like, oh, we don't, like somebody knew something. I don't, you know, spirits talk. And they were possessing these guys, and they're like, we don't mean to upset you, but we brought this breakfast. We felt like maybe you needed breakfast this morning. I said, thank you, but I'm pissed off. I tried to kill myself last night and it didn't work. And they're like, oh, okay, not wanting me to kill him, because when I'm pissed off, I emanate pissed off. And oh, good grief. So it's just not fair. I realize I do not have sovereignty. There's a joke. That is a lie. But then, within a couple of days, I started, over the next couple of days, I started to get perceptions of myself that I never would have had on my own. What makes me so precious, so valuable. So, the point of that is, the perceptions will come. You will know why your Creator loves you. And why could have started with another man, go down the same rabbit hole, and have billions of other children born in sin, meant for destruction, but decided to make a way for us by sacrificing a perfect life and all the children that would have been born from him perfect. Because Adam and Eve were perfect. There's no guarantee. And so all that hope that Yahushua could have had of having a family and generations and nations born from him was all sacrificed so that the nations already born that could be called out could be allowed to do so. That's what the sacrifice is. People think of sacrifice like sacrificing goats and pleasing God and, it'll change the weather. No, keeping the festivals and the appointed times and dates, that's what affects the weather. That's what brings the rain and the fruit and the crops in their due season. Yeshua's sacrifice was not to make ourselves pleasing to God, but to allow him to claim, to adopt us instead of having his own children. And so maybe, close that book. Maybe that could be of comfort to people who don't have children or don't get to keep their children because of the evils of this system. And you read scripture and it speaks of how our children are like arrows and we want to have a quiver full so that we can aim them out into the world to do the will of God. Put an end to all the cruelty. Expose evil for what it is. That just makes you like Yahushua. And aren't we supposed to want to walk in the way that he did? That's not a bad thing. That's not a curse from God. And like Sarai, you never know. You could end up having kids at some point. thinking, you're infertile. We have lots of biblical examples of that. I remember we had my father's cousins, like distant cousins, distant to me, and they adopted a boy because they couldn't have any children, did all the treatments, couldn't have children. They adopted a boy, and as soon as they did, they found out they were pregnant with a baby girl. And you hear these stories, once the stress and everything, the disbelief was put in the background and the focus was what they were blessed with, lo and behold, they got what they had been wanting all along. It happens. So that just brought us back to self-love and out of how we can interpret our dreams. Cool. So be it.